And we are live. Mr. Nick, I got the dog in the background saying hello as well. He's hyped for Selection Sunday. It's hard not to be. All season we're building up to this. This is man. It's every time I watch a selection show, it's like goosebumps. It's like the
Yep.
college basketball fans' Christmas is what it is. Also, first time without Greg Gumbel. Rest in peace, Greg Gumbel. It's not the selection show is not the same without him, but it's nice to see they're still carrying it on well. So, dude, let's hop into the bracket. There is so much to break down here. So, I mean, starting in the South, Auburn gets the number one overall seed. Is that where you want to start, or do you want to start here on the bubble teams and talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I want to start on the bubble. I got to
Okay.
get this off my chest. Obviously, as a UC fan, it kills me that Xavier somehow snuck in the tournament.
Mhm.
And I'm not the only person who feels this way. Obviously, I think there's a lot of people that even aren't remotely tied to the rivalry. You look at the body of work from Xavier and North Carolina combined. They are a combined 2-21 in quad one games. 2-21.
Yeah.
And I get it. Yeah, they got to 22 wins and 21 wins respectively, but they don't deserve to be in this tournament. They've done absolutely zero to be in this field, to be playing up in Dayton. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at it all. I mean, West Virginia, for most bracketologists, they were like a 10 seed, sometimes even a 9 at points.
Yeah.
And this team got left out. And all Bubba Cunningham had to say, besides his humongous ears taking up half the screen, is the fact that his main talking point, because all I could say about West Virginia is that, they had a problem with player availability.
Right. With
Josh,
Tucker DeVries.
yeah, Josh, their only guy out was Tucker. And you want to take a guess at the last time he played basketball?
Yeah, I do actually know this, but yeah, December 6th, right?
Yeah, he hasn't played since December 6th. And if that's going to be his only talking point about it, and then he instantly has to defer the question about Carolina because he's their AD saying, oh, well, I wasn't even in the room. I wasn't even, you're the head of the committee. You call the shots of the whole thing. I
Yeah.
don't care if you're in the room or not. All those people are working for you and the
Mhm.
NCAA, so they're going to put your team in. And Carolina was 1-12 in quadrant one.
And with the quad 3 loss. And I think
Exactly.
that's the thing that stands out to me is that you're going to take a team like Indiana, and West Virginia is the same way, but Indiana, you have
Yeah.
more quad 1 wins and less quad 3, quad 4 losses, yet the best of the best, right? You're talking about playing quad 1 teams.
Yeah.
Indiana's better. You're talking about playing the worst of the worst. Playing quad 3, quad 4 teams, Indiana's better. So what makes UNC better? And what I'm saying for Indiana is true and even more true than for West Virginia. So I completely agree with you. I'm sitting there watching the show. I see UNC pop up, and I'm like, holy smokes! Like,
Couldn't believe it. Could
who's
not
not
believe
getting in then? And then I see Texas pop up, and I'm like, okay, like
Yeah.
there were a lot of teams in that range that I just don't understand why they were still in it, right? Getting Texas in there, I understand they compete in the SEC tournament. They played their butts off and obviously beat Texas A&M, which is a huge win. But I look at UNC. Then what did you do in the tournament? You lost to a Duke team without their by far best player. Maybe the national player of the year.
Yeah.
What
and
did you
their
do
best
in the
defensive
ACC
player.
tournament? Yeah. What did you do in the ACC tournament that make me think, oh wow, you need to be in, right?
Yeah.
Like, I can promise you, it's not beating Hunter Salas and Wake Forest. That's not a convincing win for me.
Yeah.
That's
Why
like,
is
oh
that
my
good?
goodness.
Why is that a good win? In a game they struggled. They
Yes.
didn't even like win that game going away.
No.
It makes zero sense to me, and I get it. He's on the committee. That's a real issue.
Mhm.
I've been voicing this for a while. I think the bubble is ridiculous, and the fact that they want to expand the tournament to 76 teams, possibly up into the 80s, is crazy to me.
Yes.
Absolutely crazy. And I get if they do that, it gets rid of this. But you don't need teams like Carolina and Xavier in this tournament.
No.
Yeah, I get it. Xavier played hot down the stretch. They're playing in the Big East.
Yeah. Now, I will say too. I mean, obviously,
come
you're a
on.
Cincinnati fan, right? So you're huge.
Yeah.
I mean, you're biased against Xavier, and I will say Xavier deserves to be in the tournament more than UNC does.
100%. 100%.
The fact that it should have been Indiana and West Virginia, in my opinion, over Xavier and UNC. But if one team's going to fill, and if I'm going to add one team and drop one team, it would be adding West Virginia and dropping UNC.
Yeah.
But Xavier, at least I look at them, what you did in the tournament. You played a good Marquette team and led the entire game, right?
Blew a 14-point lead.
You did blow 14, but you were up by 14 against.
You were,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
So I mean, North Carolina, they battled back against Duke, but you were down by 20 in that game against a Duke team, again, without Cooper Flag. But okay, let's move on because
I do want to say this really quick, just really
yeah,
quick.
yep,
I don't want to harp on it any longer because I did get it out. I think it's ridiculous. The one thing that I really did come to see, the two factors of this. You look at West Virginia, you look at Indiana. They both finished 19 and 13, 10 and 10 in conference. This is two very, very good conferences, by the way. I'd say probably tied for second, 2A, 2B behind the SEC. I mean, yes, West Virginia had a horrendous loss to Colorado. They beat Colorado in the Big 12 tournament. It doesn't matter. This probably isn't even a talking point because they're in. Carolina's out.
Yep.
But then you look at what Carolina's done. Obviously, they took advantage of a bad ACC. Same with Xavier. They took advantage of a bad Big East. Both finished 6 games above 500, I believe, in the league. But guess what? They got to over 20 wins. West Virginia and Indiana didn't. They didn't get to 20 wins. And I saw that, and I was like, that is extremely surprising because you look at their body of work. They fought tooth and nail in a conference, finished 500 in it. West Virginia has some fantastic out-of-conference wins. I don't understand it, and I get it to a certain extent. But for him to get asked the question, and I heard Reese Davis ask this question about, where does West Virginia really fall of the why they didn't make it? And for him to say that it was player availability about a guy who hasn't played since March 6th blows my mind.
December 6th. Yeah.
Or December 6th. And then they ask him about Carolina, and he's like, well, I mean, Carolina went 8-0 in Quadrant 2. What? Quadrant 2? If we're talking about Quadrant 2, then, I mean, you look at UC and Indiana, they're world beaters. They should be a 1 seed in the tournament if we're talking like that. It doesn't make sense.
Well, and UNC's got a quad 3 loss. So
yeah, like UNC's got a quad 3 loss, and they're like, well, UNC.
Quad 2, it doesn't matter if you have a quad 3 loss. That's
exactly.
So, no,
UNC's got a strength of schedule of 5 outside of, conference play, like whatever. I don't get it. It makes no sense to me. I had to get it off my chest.
For me, I think, and this is my final point, and then we'll actually move into the bracket. Yeah. For me, why you're not incentivizing playing good teams early, or are you? Because West Virginia doesn't hit 20 wins, right? So for them, no, you need to hit the 20 wins mark. You're going to have your quad 1, quad 2 opportunities. But then you have a Carolina team who does hit 20 wins because they have a terrible conference, right? But they have some good out of conference games that they played. So no, I agree with you. But okay, let's move into the tournament because as much as we're negative here, this is
I had to say it. I'm sorry. Yes, it had me fuming. It had me absolutely fuming.
No, you're just fine. Okay, so let's start in the South here. Auburn gets the number 1 overall seed. Very interesting the way that they close the season. But I think if you do a blind resume, they're the number 1 overall seed. So there's no complaints out of that for me. And the Louisville-Creighton matchup to me is a doozy. I'm looking at the other 8-9s. Mississippi State, Baylor obviously is going to be a good one. UConn, Oklahoma, and Gonzaga, Georgia. I think UConn and Gonzaga are both 2 really good, really, really good 8 seeds. But Louisville-Creighton, specifically Creighton, in a second-round matchup against Auburn, I think can be a very, very difficult matchup. I mean, you think about Auburn, what's your number 1 go-to on offense is Janai Broome, right? Going to be probably the national player of the year. And Kalkbrenner is a four-time Big East defensive player of the year. That's the perfect recipe to beat them, is to have somebody like him who also can protect the paint at a really, really high level for guys like Tahad Pettiford and Chad Baker-Mazara getting to the rim. This Auburn team playing against Creighton in the second round, if Creighton were to win the first round game, would be a extremely, extremely difficult matchup in a second round matchup for 1 seed Auburn there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you look at it. I was really, really, really surprised to see Louisville as an 8 seed. I'm really surprised. I think they got banged on that. I think it's a bit of a bang job for them. I mean, you're going to be an 8 seed. They played fantastic this year. I mean, obviously a team that they had the most wins like from a turnaround from years prior. But you look at it, the committee rewards them with playing in their backyard. They get to play in Lexington. They've already played in the gym against Kentucky there, so they've already been there. They already know the backdrop, the layout of the whole arena.
Yeah.
how the rims are, all that good
And
stuff.
I was
They
at
played
that
there
game,
before.
Nick. I could tell you that they were not very intimidated by anything there because they shot the brakes off the
Yeah.
ball that day. I think Miles Kelly was like hit 9 threes that game. So I think Auburn in Rupp Arena, they're probably thrilled to be back there, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, I always look at that. It's like, well, Louisville has to play Creighton, which isn't fair. People are like, well, that's not fair. They're in an 8-9. They should be in a 7-10. Okay, but yeah, you're getting put in your backyard. Your
Yeah.
fans, the arena is going to be a sea of red.
Mhm.
There's not going to be a lot of Creighton fans there. They'll have the little section, so be it. The thing that really interests me with this matchup is the fact that, who is going to guard Kalkbrenner down low?
Yeah.
We talked about this, earlier when we were last week when we were talking about who's going to win the ACC bracket and can Louisville get the job done. They don't have a legitimate big man.
No.
This team has been riddled with injury. They got hurt again last night, losing Waterman, who knows if he's going to play.
Yeah.
One of their bigger guys. So
Which
I think
could be a reason why they maybe fell a little bit to an 8 is some
Yeah.
concern over that injury.
But yeah, I think that's going to be the real issue is can they control Kalkbrenner down low? And if they can, I think Louisville's a complete all-around better basketball team than Creighton is. But no, I think it doesn't matter who Auburn's going to play first round. They're going to dog walk them, probably win by 20 plus.
Yeah.
But any matchup in that second round, I'm going to be enticed on watching and seeing what happens because, like you said, this is an Auburn team that's been sputtering down the stretch. We
Mhm.
talked about it last week. They won their conference with 2 games to go still. They partied. They went belt to ass in Kentucky's arena. And then they dropped, the last 2 of the conference play. And then they let Tennessee bully them around. So it's going to be interesting to see. But no, I think this is a really good pod right here. And I don't know who I got coming out of that depending on how Auburn really plays. Because, I mean, I was sold on Auburn, and I think I'm backing out of it. I don't think I'm nearly as sold on them as I used to be.
Mhm.
I think they kind of are having a bit of a culture and identity issue right now. They went away from it. They went away from who they were. And it's going to be interesting to see if Bruce Pearl can get them back on track.
Yeah, I mean, I will say though, to your point, you have a game against an I don't want to call him a nobody, but you have a game which you are severely overmatched, right? You're not outmatched. You are outmatching the other team by a ton.
Yes.
So
Yes.
this is the easiest game Auburn's played in since probably all year, in all honesty. So
Yeah,
look at if you have to turn around in a game, this is a game where look, you can Bruce Pearl, you have 4 or 5 days of practice, get into your guys, get back to your identity. You have a game to basically figure it out, where if you play bad for the first 5-6 minutes because you're getting back to your identity, that's okay because you're so much the better team that you're going to be able to come out on top still. And then you can start to ease your way back into it, playing a team that's a mediocre but good, or a good but not great team in Louisville or Creighton. And then you get into that maybe a rematch against Texas A&M, right? We all know what happened at College Station there. So I think that I will say this about this Auburn team. Final point about this, and then we'll move on, is if there's going to be a 1 seed that loses on the first weekend, I believe it will be Auburn because I look at Duke.
Yeah.
I'm obviously you never think any of the 1 seeds are going to lose in the first round. Obviously, we don't think they're going to lose in the first round. And looking at the second round matchups, Duke playing Mississippi State or Baylor, I like them comfortably in both of those games. I look at a team like Mississippi State, I mean, heavily reliant on Josh Hubbard's shooting. Josh Hubbard with Sion James guarding him. That is probably Sion James is what, 6'5", 6'6". I mean, he's got like a 6'9", 6'10" wingspan. Josh Hubbard's like 5'10". So getting any shot off is going to be difficult with that. So I think Duke's got a good recipe there. I scroll down here. Florida playing against this UConn team. Florida hits the glass so hard against UConn or Oklahoma. I think it's going to be an offensive rebound fest. I just think that the way
so much bigger than both of those teams.
Yes. And then I think Houston playing Gonzaga. Gonzaga doesn't turn the ball over very much. That's their bread and butter. Houston is a team that you will turn the ball over against. So I don't really think that you can get away with it. And Gonzaga doesn't shoot the 3 ball well enough to be able to survive defenses as good as Houston. I think to beat a team like Houston, you have to be able to shoot from 3 because you're not going to get 25 to 30 great looks in a game. You're just not. So if you get 10 really good looks from 3, you have to be able to hit 8 of those really good 10 looks. So, and I don't think Gonzaga can. So I think that if there's going to be a team that loses first weekend, a 1 seed that loses first weekend, it's going to be Auburn. But let's move into the first 5, 12, 4, 13 that we're talking about here. Michigan, UCSD, Texas A&M, and Yale. Yale obviously coming out of the Ivy League. Big upset last year, actually. Same region, same
seed line, right?
Year. Yeah, same seed line. They were in the South region last year as a 13 seed playing the number 4 seed coming out of the SEC. Auburn, obviously. Yale last year has Danny Wolf, right? And Danny Wolf was great, but
yeah,
this is an interesting team. Really quickly, I want to touch on this. I do think there's a possibility for either of these teams to lose, A&M and Michigan. I think in the situation in which Michigan and A&M both move on, A&M is one of the worst teams for Michigan to have to play because of the ball pressure that they put on you, the defensive intensity that they play with, and how they make it so difficult to get into anything offensively. And Michigan is a team, their Achilles heel is the turnovers. They turn the ball over so much. So I think that in the case we see of Michigan A&M, it is going to be, can Michigan take care of the ball even remotely? I mean, can they keep it to 15 turnovers instead of 25 maybe? Because this A&M team's capable of forcing that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think we could definitely see an upset here. I personally am not going to be taking the UC San Diego upset. I think Michigan's been playing well enough down the stretch. You look what they did today against Wisconsin. I think we're finally starting to see Trey Donaldson a little bit form into their actual point guard, where they don't have to continuously run Danny Wolf at the point. They can, start playing him and Vlad down low, a little back to the basket like they did earlier in the year when they were throttling some of these teams. But yeah, I think this is going to be a team or a matchup where you see a lot of people hopping on that UC San Diego bandwagon because, you see the record, you look at it, you see them, they're 30-4,
I think they got 15 straight coming into now, right?
Yeah. They got a guy that averages 20-6 and 4. But are they going to be big enough to compete with Vlad Golden and Danny Wolf down low? I don't think they can. I really don't. It's really going to be, can Vlad Golden and Danny Wolf do what they do, but can Trey Donaldson run the point guard, be a great guy who takes care of the ball? And like you said, maybe they limit that from 20-plus turnovers down to, let's say, 12 to 15.
Right.
And they could make a legitimate case of winning this first round game and possibly beating A&M if they even can remotely hold on to the ball, because A&M's not an insanely tall team either.
No,
if you watch them play, they don't play an insanely tall lineup. And if, Vlad Golden and Wolf can do what they've done all year, I could legitimately see Michigan as a Sweet 16 team.
Yeah, I think just to play devil's advocate here, obviously as the Michigan State Spartan fan here. So I think with this Michigan team, what's happened the last kind of close of the season is I think there's been a clear recipe on how to I don't want to say stop Vlad Golden, but how to contain Vlad Golden. Like look at what Wisconsin did today, right? Of as soon as you catch the ball, whichever side you turn to, we're bringing a double from that side. We're going to force you to the middle of the paint, and we have somebody backside block that's going to come double immediately. So, and it gave them fits. It really did. I mean, I think this Wisconsin team, they are a great shooting team. Look at what they did to UCLA. Look at what they did to Michigan State, and then look at what they did to Michigan. Clearly, you ran out of gas against Michigan, but you just shot
7 of 39 for 17%.
Yes. That's I think why, and that's why Michigan won this game, right? And Wisconsin out rebounded them. I think Michigan actually, for having 2 7-footers in the game, a lot of times they're actually not a great rebounding team. Given the fact that you have 2 7-footers in the game, if you have 2 7-footers in the game, you should be a top 5 rebounding team in the nation.
They only had a combined 13 rebounds.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of where I'm at with Michigan, and I think that there's a clear recipe to how to beat them. And that's where I think is the difficult thing is you look at a lot of these other teams, like a team like Arizona, a team like Oregon, there's not a clear recipe as to how do we beat them. Okay. Yep. Turn them over. That's exactly how we know. Yep. Whereas with Michigan, their Achilles heel is turning the ball over. If you can press and then defend Vlad Golden, you will win the game. but obviously that's a lot easier said than done. So
Yeah.
Michigan A&M would be a heck of a matchup. I do agree with you, though. I will probably be picking Michigan in the first round. I think this is a very common 12/5 matchup that people are going to pick.
Yep.
But it's just there's going to be probably 1 or 2 12 seeds that win.
Yes.
There won't be 4. So you have to kind of pick your poison of do you think Clemson can handle McNeese State? Do you think Colorado State's going to beat Memphis? If you think McNeese and Colorado State are going to win, then I would advise you don't pick UCSD as well because not everybody's going to win. But all right, let's go to the bottom side here. So kind of right here with Ole Miss. And this is the UNC game, I believe, correct? They're not
yes. This is UNC San Diego State.
Okay, that's what I thought. So this is going to be a clashing style. I think San Diego State beats UNC, just honestly. UNC's better as of late, but I think San Diego State is just a better team overall.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree with that. I think San Diego State plays a different style of defense to where they just hound the ball. Their pressure is insane. They get in your face. It's a classic, San Diego State team. They're not crazy, flashy on offense. They're gritty. They get down. They play defense, and they beat you by, like you said, turning the ball over, doing all the dirty work. And I think this is a Carolina team. Like you said, they're playing good ball. But, I mean, are they really? Like, they were down, what? How much to Duke? 20?
22, I think,
They came back, obviously, but that's without Duke having Cooper Flagg and Malik Brown. But, no, I legitimately think that whoever wins that 11 seed game has a really good shot of possibly making the Sweet 16 because you look at this Iowa State team, they're really banged up. They're really banged up. I think they already said that Gilbert's not going to play. Keyshawn Gilbert is out. He will not be playing at least the first round game against Lipscomb. And Tamin Lipsey, got hurt in the game against UC and played the next game, didn't play the next game. Didn't play the next game, had a groin issue. So that's something to look at there. Injuries suck. Nobody likes injuries. But that is a spot to where I think whoever wins that playing game, that 11 seed could possibly make a run to the Sweet 16. I think that is a legitimate spot. I'm not really sold on Ole Miss. I'm really not. I think Chris Beard's a great coach. I just don't think they have enough. They don't shoot the ball well enough. I think their game against Auburn doesn't really sell what most people want to see with them being a good pick at a 6 here. It was a bad game for Auburn. I think that was probably one of the worst games Auburn's played down the stretch. They didn't really seem interested. It was a rock fight of a game. So no, I'm not really sold on Ole Miss. I know there's going to be a lot of people that are, but I would probably lean that 11 seed has a legitimate shot to make the Sweet 16, especially if Iowa State stays, injured.
Yeah, no, I mean, injuries are one that I think Houston's kind of ran into it for several years now, right? And this is the first year Houston's coming into the tournament completely healthy.
Yeah, completely healthy.
Well, I think they actually came into the tournament completely healthy 2 years ago and then had, I want to say Sasser get hurt.
He, I want to say he got hurt against, I want to say it was NKU. I think he tweaked his ankle against NKU. And then obviously kept playing, but you could tell that he wasn't 100%.
Yeah. So, I mean, Houston's dealt with that, but Iowa State's dealing with it. And I think another one to mention here, as we're going to hop around a little bit, but is come down here to I believe this is the Midwest. Yeah, the Midwest region is Illinois is a team who has been injured, but is not now.
They got a great pod. I love this pod for them. I really do.
Well, you think Kentucky's injured, right? I mean, no Jackson Robinson. No, is Lamont Butler going to play? I mean, they're saying yes, but it's his shooting shoulder that he's dealt with, and it's been lingering. So I'm going to say he's not going to be 100% if he's playing.
You watched what happened to them against Bama. I mean, obviously it's Bama, really, really high-powered offense, but
that's the same style that Illinois plays, though. Is a fast-paced, we're going to shoot 3 offense, and they rebound the hell out of the ball.
Yeah.
And if Kentucky's playing guys like Travis Perry on the court.
Thank you. Him and Noah and Chandler. I mean, you're bringing 3 young, unexperienced, white kids to try to make your tournament run. And no offense, obviously. I mean, but like These kids don't have any experience at all.
Well, my thing is like Colin
Like-
Chandler rebounds well. Travis
Yes.
Berry and Trevor Noah are undersized guards that
Yeah.
you put them up against Illinois. Look at what like Trey White does to guys, or like Gibbs Lawhorn. Look at what he does. I mean, Gibbs Lawhorn is and Trey White are both small guards, but they're stocky and they rebound the crap out of the ball.
Who's going to guard Yakachonis?
Oh,
like
nobody.
maybe Owe.
I mean, yeah, but that means Owe's playing 2 ways down the floor. I mean, right?
Yeah.
You don't want Owe to have to guard Yakachonis the entire game, right?
Yep.
And I just think if Lamont Butler's not playing, which even if he's fully healthy, he's not going to be a rebounding. He's not going to be rebounding like he typically would. The rebounding aspect that Illinois has going for them is so valuable because you get a ton of extra looks. When you get that many extra looks in March Madness, possessions dwindle, right? However many possessions you typically get, take it and shrink it by probably 15-20%.
Yep.
But so when you can give yourself 2 or 3 shots on a possession, it's such an advantage. And I think this Kentucky team is banged up. They're a 3 seed if they're fully healthy. I think realistically
a 3 seed, yes, fully healthy.
I think you're probably a 5 or a 6 seed the way that you're playing right now. And so for Illinois, you get to play a team that's not playing great, and you are starting to actually peak, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this lineup for Illinois. They are like you said, they're such a lengthy lineup. You look at like it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think Killian Boswell could quite literally have a record day if they get to this game against Kentucky and Lamont Butler can't play.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've seen it. Boswell had a fantastic game against Maryland. Like, granted, they lost by 23, but he had 14 points. He played great. And he only had 3 turnovers. If you're going to let him be the point guard that we've seen throughout this year and his time at Arizona, what is Kentucky going to do? Because Travis Perry can't guard him.
Mm-mm. Well, but I will say this about Illinois. We're hyping Illinois up a lot. I will say this.
I don't want to cut you off, but I could also see Illinois losing to Texas if Texas wins that first 4 games. So I'll put that there.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say is they are reliant primarily on Yakachonis, who is calling him a freshman feels wrong because he doesn't play like a freshman. He's been playing professional ball overseas for years. So the moment is not too bright for him probably. But you also have Ivisic, right? Who's a freshman. You also have Will Riley, who's a true freshman. So there's a lot of inexperience on this roster. I'll say that.
Yes.
And so I think that's one thing that could come into play. But I think this Illinois team has been tested enough throughout the year, and you've had to rely on different guys in different moments because you've been dealing with. I mean, they battled sickness for like 3 weeks. Right.
Yeah. I mean, it led to them losing by 40 to Duke because they didn't have a roster.
Walk-ons that game. Yeah,
they didn't have a roster.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with when they played Wisconsin. Like they didn't even shake hands after the game with Wisconsin because they were so sick.
Yeah.
Like Brad Underwood literally said, like, we'll do like the COVID wave. Like we can't shake hands. We don't want to get you guys sick.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, I think you get a fully healthy Illinois team. If they play a really good game against either Xavier or Texas, they could legitimately be a Sweet 16 team because I don't see it with Kentucky. Obviously, we both did at the beginning of the year. Injuries suck. Injuries took a magical season away from this Kentucky team. Yep. I really do think this Kentucky team would have been a 3, even if they even if they didn't get injured. But I think they were a team that outside of the 1 seed could have, fought against Houston in this region to go to the Final Four.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you add Jackson Robinson and a healthy Lamont Butler to this team, they're a very, very, very talented team, right? I mean, you have guards in Jackson Robinson, Otega Way, and Lamont Butler. You have Kobe Brea in there, who is still, in my opinion, the best shooter in the nation.
All have tournament experience as well.
Yes, yeah, that's the thing we were referencing all year is you have these guys that have so much tournament experience.
And then if Kirk Kriisa doesn't get hurt as well, that's another point guard that's got tournament experience. He's your backup point guard, and he would be starting on almost any other team in the nation.
Yeah,
if you put him on any other team in the nation. But guess what? He breaks his foot. Injuries are the worst, and we're going to be looking at a Kentucky team who's going to have to fight and claw to try to get to the second weekend, which sucks. It really does.
Yeah, no, I like as much as it pains me to say, I like Kentucky to lose in the second round here. I
agree.
think they win against Troy just because Kentucky's a team that if you can't physically match up with them, they're going to beat you up, right? I mean, Amari Williams will bring the ball up the court. He can facilitate well. Kobe Bray is, if you let them get out and run in transition, Kobe Bray is going to torch you from three. Otega Way is physically better than 99.9% of the people that guard him. He's a stud. Like, they're going to, when you're overmatched playing Kentucky, you're really going to struggle. If it's level playing field or Kentucky has to play up to an opponent, I just don't think they're capable of it because of the injuries. But let's go ahead and move on. So we were on the South region there for a little bit. Really quickly here, we'll touch on the bottom side of the South region. Obviously, the Michigan State Spartans.
I think I'm going to say it. When I saw this draw for you, I could not have been more fired up.
Oh yeah,
this is a legitimate Elite Eight, Final Four type draw.
Oh yeah,
we talked about it. You were looking, and I hate to bring this up because you're not going to want to say it, so I'll say it for you. We talked about the one seed you didn't want to see. You didn't want to see Duke.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't want to see Houston. And now you're looking at it. You definitely didn't want to see Florida the way they're playing.
No,
you got the number one overall one seed who's been playing maybe at the level of a 2 or a 3 seed the past month,
right?
Which is fantastic for you. And you look at your draw. Your 7-10 matchup is the Mountain West, which is always overrated, and a Marquette team that, they got Cam Jones, but what else? You're already bigger than them. You're going to dominate them in the paint.
Oh yeah.
And you play great defense, so that instantly takes away Cam Jones and what he can do. Look at what St. John's did to Cam Jones. He started off hot, but they locked down on defense, and he couldn't do anything.
Right. Well, and even started off hot. The hot shots you were hitting were an up and under double clutch.
Yeah, contested. Like, it wasn't like they were wide open.
Contested three, right? I mean, it's like, sure, you can hit him, but you're not going to hit him all game. And sure enough, as soon as he stops hitting, what happens to this Marquette team? They go flatline.
They go dormant. It happened against Xavier too.
Yes, it did. Yeah. So I think I completely agree with you. Also, this Marquette team just doesn't defend pick and roll well, right? I mean,
I don't think Marquette wins their first round game, if we're being honest.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree. I think they don't defend guards well enough. We saw that in the Xavier game. I'm blanking on the guy's name. But
Ryan Conwell.
Yeah, Ryan Conwell.
8 points.
Yeah, torched them.
You're going to let Donovan Dent, the player of the year in the Mountain West, who averages like 20 and almost 10. I will gladly accept that. I will gladly take that. And I think you look at it past that, like we were talking about. All right, so if Michigan State wins your first round game, I think they're going to get New Mexico, but I'm not scared of either of those teams. I think you win that easy. If you win that, you're most likely getting like maybe a San Diego State or an Iowa State team, that's beat up. That's a win. And then you're looking down the road at that. So you're going to get maybe at that point, you're going to get Auburn.
Right.
Or maybe a Michigan team who you've already beaten twice.
Right. I'd love to have Michigan in
there. Come on. I don't want to hype up Michigan State too much, but I think Michigan State got one of the better draws of the whole bracket. I really do.
No, I would agree. I think a team that has a great draw as well as a 2 seed until you get to the Elite Eight is Tennessee. Right. I think getting to play UCLA or Utah State, I think is looking at the other 7-10s, you don't want to play Kansas. I don't think you really want to play Vanderbilt. I think they're plenty capable to beat anybody. We've seen that. So I think getting to play UCLA and Utah State, the winner of that, I think you're fine with, because the clashing style specifically with UCLA, not clashing, but kind of similar style. Tennessee's just better at it.
Yeah.
Right. So you're playing a team that has the exact same, their MO is the exact same thing as you. You're just better at it. So I think Tennessee, also UCLA defended the 3 miserably against Wisconsin. And if you do that against Tennessee, Chaz Lanier will light you up for 40 because he's one of the best shooters in the nation. So I think Tennessee is a great draw too. The only problem is that you look at the 6 seed that they have, and it's Illinois. Now the 3 seed being Kentucky's nice, right? You get a 3 seed that's really not a 3 seed, but overall, I would agree. Real quick on Michigan State, I think the guard play that they have right now is defensively good enough to give a lot of teams a lot of problems. And I think that if you get to an Elite Eight game and you have Holloman and Fears defensively that you can throw at somebody like Tahad Pettiford or Denver Jones for Auburn, And then you also have the offensive ability to go through somebody like Jace Richardson or Jaden Akins, right? I mean, didn't even mention Akins. He's an insanely good defender. But Auburn, Florida, Arizona, Kentucky, Final Four. Not a bad shout. I love Arizona as a dark horse 4 to get in, because I think that they're actually starting to play some pretty good ball right now. But the Kentucky one, I know we were just talking about this, Nick. Kentucky one's tough just because of how injured they are.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing that kills it. I think if you go back and watch other episodes, I loved Kentucky.
Mhm.
Kentucky was one of my favorite teams in the country. They're so good, and they're a team that, obviously none of them played together. There's a whole new roster,
Right.
but they were so experienced. And you were able to bring in Pope, who coached in a tournament game last year. Obviously, they got upset. But you looked at the one player that he brought with him from BYU was Jackson Robinson, who had like 20-something points in that game against Duquesne last year. It was really the only reason they were even remotely in the game.
Yeah.
And no, injuries suck. We talked about it. I don't hate that Final Four at all. Very SEC chalky, though. But I really, really love the draw for Michigan State, and I kind of want to hear you hype them up a little bit.
Dude, I would love to. Real quick, I mean, about Kentucky, I look at what they've done the last month, right? After the win against Vanderbilt, and obviously a revenge game. After losing at Vanderbilt, you win at home in a revenge game. You lose to Bama. You beat Oklahoma by 1. Obviously, that's the Otega-Oweh like dream game there. You get crushed by Auburn. Come out and bounce back against LSU. Big win against Missouri, and then you beat Oklahoma again. But then you get pummeled by Bama. So what I've seen out of Kentucky in the last month is that you really are just inconsistent. And when you're inconsistent in March, it means that if you win against Troy and you win against Illinois, you're not going to win against Tennessee. Or if you win against Troy, you might not win against Illinois. So I think as you start to see a team that's just inconsistent, they can't string wins together, like a lot of these teams that you want to see. Like you want to see a team that's playing good ball right now, and when they do play good ball, they win 3, 4, 5 games in a row convincingly. And we haven't seen that in the last really 2 months out of Kentucky. And I know it's the SEC. It's hard to win 3, 4, 5 games in a row, but I mean, you had a run where it was after you lose to Bama, where you have Oklahoma, then you have Auburn, and then you have LSU, and then you have Missouri, Oklahoma. Like, yeah, I just think that you could have done that there. But either way, dude, this Michigan State team. I mean, just to you said hype them up. You
got to. I know you don't want to, but
twist my arm. I mean,
that's the one thing I'll give the committee credit for. Wow. I mean, they gave you a great pod.
Yeah,
and run to the Final Four. They really did.
They really did. I was telling my dad earlier today is Auburn's going to be the number 1 overall seed in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean their resume was too good not to put them up there. I don't care what happened the past 2-3 weeks. Over the whole year, they have been the best team. I mean, you look at it. Yeah, they went into Duke's house and only lost by 6?
Yeah, and that was the Isaiah Evans coming out game where he came and hit 6 threes in the first half.
They beat Houston on a neutral floor. And, they beat Florida as well. So they've beaten 2 of the 1 seeds. And then they went into the house of the other 1 seed with, the most likely number 1 overall pick in Cooper Flagg and only lost by 6 in a game they were winning most of the first half till Isaiah Evans came in and hit 6 3-pointers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's been a bad stretch for Auburn. I'm starting to lose my faith on them, but I think this is a region that is kind of weak. But I think it's a region where you will see a 1 and a 2 battling for the Final Four spot.
Yeah, see, I could very easily see this being. I see Michigan State obviously in the Elite 8 there, but I could very easily see Auburn not there. I could see Creighton making it there. I could see A&M there. I could see a lot. I mean, Michigan is playing good ball right now. I mean, in the Big Ten tournament, they obviously were. So I could very easily see a pathway in which Auburn does not make the Final Four. Just because if you're not playing good basketball right now, you're really not going to learn too much against the 16 seed, right? If you learn what you need to learn over the next 4 or 5 days of practice, and then you start to implement it against a 16 seed, that's good. That's okay. you won't learn anything from beating a 16 seed.
Especially when it's a play-in too. I mean, you're getting a play-in tournament team. I mean, who's going to be playing? I think they play on Thursday, so 2 days prior.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a team that already had to fight to, get a win in the tournament, and it's like whatever. I agree with you though.
Yeah, no, and so I think if you don't figure it out, then figuring it out on the fly against Creighton, I mean, Kalkbrenner could very easily take Janai Broom with 2,000 first 5 minutes, and he's out of the game.
Yeah.
So I would agree with Auburn is I could see Auburn not making it. I want to go to the Midwest here because I want to talk about Houston. Houston right now, I can promise you this, we'll have more. We'll have the official Sports Geeks bracket released on Tuesday. We'll have a couple more things coming out on tomorrow, Monday, of some teams to watch, some players to watch, some fun things like that. Houston right now, I'm telling you right now, will be my team that wins it all because Houston is such a good and balanced team. They rebound the crap out of the ball. They shoot the crap out of the ball. They have 3 guards that can all create at such a high level. Obviously, the transfer in Milos Uzan, the transfer in LJ Cryer, and then Emmanuel Sharp. You have 3 guys that can really shoot the crap out of the ball. All of them can shot create, especially Uzan and Cryer. And then you have Juwan Roberts inside, who is so good. You just won the Big 12 tournament without Juwan Roberts. You know how impressive that is? First team all conference. You take him off your team and you can still win the conference. That is absurdly impressive. They play hounding defense and they can shoot the 3. That's a lethal duo. When you get both of them, it's dangerous. St. John's plays hounding defense, but they don't shoot the 3. When you get both of them, like this Houston teams has, that is scary to play against.
Yeah, I agree with you. I love this Houston team. I've said it all year. This is a team that really is starting to get into form. I mean, you look at what they did yesterday against Arizona. They were down 5 at half, only put up 28 points in the first half. They respond by holding Arizona to 64 total points, and Houston scored 44 in the second half. And like you said, they did it without Juwan Roberts. This is a team that has always been known for defense, defense, defense. They've never been known for scoring. They don't usually get above 70. You get to 72, you hold Arizona to 64, and then, like you said, they shoot 39% from 3. That is what they've been missing the past 2 to 3 years of when we were saying, when is Houston going to get to that caliber of a team that can make it to the Final Four and probably win it? They missed that. They didn't have it last year. They weren't nearly as good of three-point shooting team last year as they are this year. Last year, what killed them is, like we bring up with other teams like Kentucky and Iowa State, is injuries. They got killed by that in-game injury with Jamal Shed going down against Duke, or else they're in the final. They're in the Final Four. They're most likely going to be going up against, I think they would have had to play Purdue, right? In the
correct. Yeah, they would have played Purdue and then UConn. Yeah.
And then UConn. And I think they legitimately could have beaten Purdue and also beaten that UConn team just by the way that this team is coached with Kelvin Sampson.
Yeah.
It is fantastic. It's a great job. I mean, like we talked about in weeks past, this program about 12 years ago was dead. This was a team that was in the bottom of the American. They were barely getting maybe 1,000 to 2,000 people showing up to games. They were maybe winning, 10 games a year. You bring in Kelvin Sampson. You bring in this culture of we're going to beat you down. We are going to lock you up on defense, and we're going to get out and run. And now you're going to give me the fact that they can shoot the 3 ball now? Yeah, I'm bought in. I'm completely bought in. If they can shoot the 3 ball, this team is damn near unbeatable. The only thing that they lack is they're not a really tall team. But I'm okay with that. I really am, because if you're going to play that good at defense, then you're going to make up for it no matter what. Because I think on a broadcast a few weeks back, they were talking about it when it was when Kansas played at Houston. Hunter Dickinson had 4 turnovers in the first I want to say 8 to 9 minutes of the game. And Fran Fraschilla kept bringing up, he's like, Dickinson doesn't see these guys' wingspan. I mean, you look at it, was Juwan Roberts. He got to Houston, Josh. He was only 6'6", 185 pounds.
Jeez, he's 6'8", 235 now.
Yeah, he's now 6'8", 235, and his wingspan is almost 7 feet. Same thing with Joseph Tugler. These guys have wingspans that are so much.
And Jameer Francis.
So much wider than how tall they are. And that's the thing that I don't think these teams understand. Yeah, they're not very tall. But guess what? They can jump. They jump through the gym, and they have insane wingspans.
Yeah, no, this Houston team is so scary to me. I was sitting here. Houston was the one. They're my number one overall. I mean, let me reword this. Auburn should be the number one overall seed resume wise. They should be. Houston is the best team in the nation right now.
Yeah, I mean, what, they've only lost one time since
December.
Since the Auburn loss, right?
Yeah, since December, and it was an overtime loss to Texas Tech, who's a 3 seed, very good team by the way, and they should have won that game comfortably. They lost that game, but I think the thing that stands out to me again for this Houston team is when you start to look into like metrics that matter come March, right? The actual quantitative metrics that matter are
top 10 in both KenPom, right?
Yeah, top 10 in both KenPom, and then they're also I look at the turnovers battle. Do you win the turnover battle? Houston absolutely wins the turnover battle. And then also the qualitative metric is watch them play defense when it's game on the line. Watch them play offense when it's game on the line. Because when we have 2 minutes of a close game where it's game on the line moments, you get to the Elite Eight, the Final Four, obviously the national championship, it's the final 10 minutes. Right? Or the final 15 minutes or the entire game where it's game on the line. And the way that Houston plays defense in those moments, it is swarming. You cannot do anything. Very similar to St. John's, by the way, which we'll touch on here in a little bit.
Yes.
But we watch them play offense and they're calm. They're composed. Milos Uzan is composed. He'll get the switch he wants, take his time, be patient, and get to the rim, or take his time, be patient, and hit a step back three. And if they don't force shots late in the game, and they are so dynamic, and they don't rely too heavily on an individual's performance. If Emmanuel Sharp shoots terribly, guess what? That's okay. He was terrible for the 8 games when he came back from injury, and they didn't lose.
Yeah,
they didn't lose.
He was awful.
Yeah, so they're not relying on him. Milos Uzan has just recently started playing really, really well in the last month and a half. And then LJ Cryer, look at the first half against Arizona.
Mr. Consistent.
Just bad. And guess what? You're fine because you one of them, Emmanuel Sharp starts to hit threes. Uzan's hitting threes now. Yeah. So they're not reliant on one player at all. That's where I think Duke maybe lacks a little bit is look at how much they struggled without Flag, right? When it comes to pressure moments and Flag.
They were losing. They were losing last night at halftime to Louisville.
Right, and you blew a 20-point lead to North Carolina and should have lost that game. We should say.
But aside, they don't have the lane violation, and their big man doesn't miss the first free throw.
Yeah. So I think for this Houston team, my final point here on this Houston team, and then we'll kind of move out of this side of the bracket is they are so good at playing defense, and they are so diverse in their scoring threats that it means that no matter what's going wrong, you can't shoot the 3 today. That's okay. Juwan Roberts is great inside, and you have guards that can get to the rim. Okay, you're playing against a team like, I'm looking at it. There's really not anybody in their bracket that has an elite.
I think this is the weakest region.
I mean, I don't think Purdue is a 4 seed that's concerning.
I think they're upset minded, if I'm being honest with you. I really do. I think there's going to be an upset in either the 5-12 with Clemson and McNeese or the 4-13 with Purdue and High Point. And you look at these teams, I mean, Houston's scariest game is going to be their second round game, whether they play Georgia or Gonzaga. Doesn't matter. Those are 2 very good 8-9s.
Mm-hmm.
Very good 8-9s that have some big time wins throughout the year. So, I mean, as a Houston fan, I wouldn't love having to play either one of them second round. But if you get past that game, you really have nothing to worry about because you're most likely going to get Clemson or Purdue. And I think that's a cakewalk. I really do. And then after that, I mean, all right, you're maybe going to match up with Tennessee. But I think those are 2 really good defensive teams. But I think that Houston is by far the better overall team than Tennessee because Tennessee really lacks on the offensive end.
Mm-hmm.
They really do. I don't think Tennessee's an insane offensive team, and that's where I think it differs from Houston. I think Houston is, obviously not. I wouldn't say they're like leaps and bounds better on the offensive end, but I would say they're a better offensive team than Tennessee is.
Well, I think Tennessee's very reliant on Chaz Lanier, right? If Chaz Lanier is not going to have a good day, then Zakai Ziegler has to. Yep. And if you ever get a day where both of them are mediocre, or one of them is awful and the other one's mediocre, or both of them are bad, they're going to lose in the second round because
we saw that a lot with their games against Kentucky this year.
Yeah.
Lanier
Yep.
sucked in those games. He wasn't great in those games, and guess what? Ziegler had to try to step up, and that was a healthy Kentucky team that was able to swarm him and swallow him up, and it was,
Mhm.
it was over for him.
Yeah. So let's move over to this is the West
The
region
West,
here. So Florida as
interesting
the one
region.
seed, SEC champions or SEC conference champions here,
Yeah,
or tournament
champs.
champs here in Florida, getting to play the two-time reigning champs or Oklahoma, who snuck in here.
I think Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma beats them. I really,
Really?
do. I think Oklahoma can get this UConn team. This UConn team hasn't shown me much. I can't get behind them. I really can't. I try and I try and I try because obviously it's UConn, it's Danny Hurley. I haven't found it yet, and I think this Oklahoma team has been playing great basketball.
Yeah.
They battled with Kentucky. They should have won, but once
Yeah.
again, like you brought up earlier, their old friend Otega Owe got them again on another game winner, or else they're probably going on to face Bama. I think that's a legitimate spot where Oklahoma beats UConn, and then obviously they play Florida, their old conference foe now, and I think they easily win that. I really do. I think Florida easily wins that game.
Okay, yeah. I think UConn, the only thing that's holding me back from being all in on Oklahoma is how reliant they are on a freshman.
Yeah,
In Jeremiah Fears. And I
Yep.
understand Jeremiah Fears, he's progressed really well. He's not playing like a freshman, right? But let's think back 2 years ago when you had somebody like Braden Smith for Purdue, who was a 1 seed, and Braden Smith
Yeah.
wasn't playing like a freshman, but he's a
Yep.
freshman point guard that's leading his team. And when you have a freshman point guard leading your team, it makes it very difficult to win in March. So I think
Yep.
that for Oklahoma, that's really the thing that's going to hold me back for them is that Jeremiah Fears, as talented as he is, as good as he's been down the stretch here, late in the season, obviously in the SEC tournament, I'm holding back on that because of that. So I think UConn can win this game. I think UConn will win this game. I just think Danny Hurley's experience in March is too much, and he's going to understand how to speed somebody up like Jeremiah Fears and find some alternative ways to get some points there. So I think UConn can win. I think Florida is going to comfortably beat both of these teams here.
Yeah.
I do think something to mention is Memphis going to play Colorado State.
I was just about to ask you about this game.
This is a 12 seed I really, really think can beat this Memphis team because this Memphis team, Tyrese Hunter, I don't think is going to play. It's
They showed him on the sideline today. He was in a walking boot, and I'm really worried. Is that just precautionary, or is he actually hurt? And when I was looking through this, obviously this isn't a gambling show, but this one obviously caught my eye because Colorado State's favored 2.5.
Yeah. Okay. So that means that he's not playing.
Yeah, and I assume that Vegas believes he's not going to play.
Right.
Whatever injury look at this
news,
Memphis,
whatever injury news you and I have, Nick, Vegas has more. So
exactly. And you look at this Memphis team. I mean, they have 2 quad 3 losses. Obviously, it's not technically their fault. They're playing a really, really bad American Athletic Conference.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you watch their games in this tournament against these American Athletic Conference teams, and they weren't easy. It's not like they easily ran away with wins. Like today, they battled with UAB. It wasn't a crazy blowout win. No, and I think this is Colorado State, who's probably one of the hottest teams in college basketball right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they have went on a run. Nee Clifford is fantastic. He was a guy that was there last year on that team that played in that disgusting first 4 game against Virginia. But no, I think this is a really good Colorado State team that's playing great basketball at the right time. They're going to bring a lot of momentum into the tournament, and I think that's going to be a really sexy 5-12 upset that people take. And I see it happening if you're not going to have your point guard and Tyrese Hunter play, and you're going to have to rely on PJ Haggerty to put up 40 points like they did in the semifinal game. I forget who they played, but he had to put up 40 points to get them a win.
Yeah.
Let me look and see who it was really fast. It was against Tulane.
Yeah.
They beat Tulane Green Wave team. It was 19-14, 12-6, and the American by 1 point. And they did this with Haggerty, or not. Haggerty didn't put up. He put up 18 in that game. He put up 40 in one of the games in this conference tournament.
Well, I think he put up 18 in that game with 14 points coming from the free throw line. So
that's where
like
14 of 14, 2 of 13 from the field, 0 of 5 with 3 turnovers. He had 5 assists, 9 boards. So like if he doesn't have a great game, they're going to struggle, and it showed in that he didn't have a great game. Horrible shooting game, and they only won by 1 and got lucky. or else the American would have been a bid stealer, and we'd be looking at a different first four and bracket with it.
Yeah, that means your go-to UNC wouldn't be in it, Nick. So,
Yeah.
no, I think with this Memphis team is they're clinging on to their performance at Maui, where they were
They are.
spectacular.
Yes, they are.
And you beat UConn, you beat Michigan State, and I look at those games, and what Memphis did in those games is they hit contested threes.
They were, yeah. They were shooting at an insane clip.
They were shooting like 40 to 50% on defended threes. So, which is unsustainable, right? And for a second, you're like, oh, maybe they're just that good of shot makers, right? But at some point, it's going to bite you in the ass, and it did. So, this Memphis team, when you take Tyrese Hunter out of it, you're so reliant on PJ Haggerty, who is not the 3-point threat that Tyrese Hunter is.
Yeah, he's a great player. Don't get me wrong.
Yes, great.
He is not what Tyrese Hunter did in Maui. We talked about that. We couldn't have loved the way that they played more in Maui. Tyrese Hunter was fantastic in Maui.
Yes.
Fantastic in Maui. And you look at, like we talk about this Colorado State team, they're 25-9. They went on a great run to win the Mountain West, but they dominated Utah State. They played Utah State on Friday night. They dominated. They were up by as much as like 27 in that game. And you look at the guy that leads them. We talked about Nick Clifford. He averages 19, 10, and 5. I want to say he's 6'6", 6'7".
Yeah,
he's their leading rebounder at 10. He's only like 6'6", 6'7".
Yeah,
he's an athletic guy that not only scores a ton of points for you, but he gets rebounds and he dishes the ball like he's a point guard.
Yeah, he is 6'6", by the way. So
I mean, that's an undersized guy who's going to give you 10 boards. Right. I really do think this is probably, if I had to pick out of all the 5-12s with obviously Memphis, Colorado State, Clemson, McNeese, Oregon, Liberty, and Michigan, UC San Diego, I think this is probably my surest pick to be an upset if Tyrese Hunter doesn't play.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's crazy calling it an upset when they're favored, but
they're favored, but
it is the upset. No, I'm right there with you. Let's move on to Maryland. I think takes care of Grand Canyon. I think Maryland when they're rested in a game,
they don't play till Friday.
Right, and they're gonna be plenty rested. They can wallop somebody, and I fully expect them to. I mean, it's exactly what we saw when they played. Who was it that they absolutely crushed in the Big Ten tournament? It wasn't. I think it was Illinois when they played
beat Illinois by 23.
Yeah, and they just couldn't miss, right? And that's
88-65.
Yeah, you have a guy like Rodney Rice who just can't miss, right? And they have so many good. You have Gillespie in there, and then you obviously have the big pairing of Reese and Queen inside. So you have plenty of scoring options.
I think their biggest issue, and I think you would agree with me on this, is who are they going to have outside of the Crab Five? I have to say it because that's what they call themselves, and I think it's really dumb, but who is going to show up and help out when obviously you can't play just 5 guys the whole game,
right? Especially
in tournament time, that's not going to work,
right?
After you've played a few games in the in the Big Ten tournament, I don't understand that. Like, where are you going to go after that? You can't just play 5 guys. Obviously, it showed yesterday against Michigan. They ran out of gas. Who are you going to bring in off the bench if you're Maryland that is going to be able to give you valuable minutes, but also be able to come in off the bench and give you almost the same type of playing that you would get from your starters? Who's it going to be? That's going to be the really big issue.
And they don't have anybody. They don't. Geronimo is really the only guy that comes off the bench that can even remotely score, and even him, I think it's really just a vertical threat. Like he's a lob dunker. So Maryland in game 1, I love. In game 2 against Colorado State, I could or Memphis, obviously, I could see Colorado State getting into the Sweet 16 here because if Maryland, if they get in foul trouble, if this game against Grand Canyon goes all the way to the end. Now, I mean, if Maryland wins this game by 25 and shoots the breaks off the ball,
and guess what? You don't have to play your starters. Yes, exactly.
So that's where maybe you can get to the point where if that does happen, Maryland gets 4 or 5 days rest and then gets to play Florida. They could beat Florida. They absolutely can. In a single game, Maryland can beat anybody because they can shoot the crap.
Especially if you have a few games like we're talking about that are cupcake walks, and you can rest your guys. You don't have to continuously play your 5 starters 30 to 35 minutes a game. You can actually give them a little bit of time to rest, and I think that is probably going to be the key for this Maryland team if they want to make it to the Sweet 16 and get to that matchup with Florida. But this is game right below it. I want to see your take on it because I think this is a really good Missouri team. We're looking at a Drake team that we all know is going to be really sexy upset pick, but they haven't played in over 2 weeks. So I would love to hear your take on this because I'm leaning Missouri because I think Missouri is a really good SEC team. I mean, they've proven it that they can beat some of these teams. They put up 110 against Bama. They're not a bad team. But
no, they're not a bad team, but they're
people are
playing
really gonna like this Drake pick, and they haven't played in 2 weeks, which scares me. It scares me.
No, I'm fine with it scaring you, and I'm going to be on Drake here. I can tell you why.
Yeah.
Missouri's lost 4 of their last 5.
Yeah.
And in those 4 of the last 5, it's the SEC, right? So you can play really, really difficult games in there. They didn't. They lost to Vanderbilt. They lost They lost to Oklahoma. They lost to Kentucky.
At home, too.
Yes,
against
at home.
A hurt Kentucky team, you lose at home.
A very hurt Kentucky team. And then you beat Mississippi State, and then you lose against Florida. Losing against Florida is whatever. But I understand you can sit here and say all of these teams are tournament teams. Yes, but you can't lose 4 of your last 5 to teams that are all, I guess, Florida's.
I mean, they're all in the tournament, but I get where you're coming with.
They're all 8 seeds or higher. So that's the thing that I struggle with. But I could very easily see Missouri coming out, they figured out whatever it needed to be, and they could win by 20. But this Drake team is a winning team. They wanted the Division II level with their coach. They've come into the Division I level. They're winning now. They are playing really, really good basketball, and I understand they've had 2 weeks of rest. If they get through the first 5 to 10 minutes, the first initial push of Missouri, and they can battle back and get it to a 5-point game by half, this is really, really dangerous second half because I think Drake could very, very comfortably, in my opinion, win this game. But I think whoever comes out of this loses to Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech is quality enough. They're getting healthy enough. They beat whoever comes out of this. And then I think St. John's beats Texas Tech and is in the Elite Eight.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I didn't even really realize. I'm kind of looking into some of the Mizzou stats. I mean, they're 184th in the country in assists per game. That's not good at all. They score 84 points, so they're 10th in the nation. That's great. They give up 74 points a game. Not amazing by any stretch. And then you look at their rebounds per game, they're 272 in the country. They only get 34 rebounds a game. But I agree with you. I think this Texas Tech team, if they get healthy, I mean, wow. They're a really good basketball team.
Go ahead.
I think they're a team.
Keep talking about them. I'm going to be right back.
Okay. I think this Texas Tech team, honestly, is better than a 3 seed. I really do. I think they're probably a 2 seed. If they can get that win against Arizona and get themselves into the final against Houston, I legitimately believe that they could be a 2 seed. You look at the second round matchup. If they get Josh says he thinks Drake's going to win. I think Mizzou's going to win. If they play Mizzou, they're going to out-rebound Mizzou. JT Toppin's a stud. He'll dominate down low. He'll most likely have – I don't know, maybe Mark Mitchell guarding him. But no, you look at that, and I think Tech easily wins that. I think Tech gets himself in the Sweet 16. So we can move on from that. My biggest thing is this pod down here we have with the 7-10 Kansas, Arkansas, and the 2-15 St. John's, Omaha. You look at those coaches, you got a pod of Bill Self, John Calipari, and Rick Pitino all in the same place. Ridiculous. I mean, what an insane pod. I tell you what, they might not all be the best teams, but I clap it up for the committee giving us that pod. That is insane. That is actually insane that they were able to do that. The biggest thing I think in this Kansas game is, can Kansas have a legitimate game where Rylan Griffin, Zeke Mayo, AJ Storr, KJ Adams, and Hunter Dickinson can all score like they have been known to score. Yeah. I think you're going to get the consistent play from DeJuan Harris of he's going to be able to pass the ball. He's going to give you your assists. Can he put in – another thing is, can he put in 10 points? Yeah. He hasn't been scoring well. He hasn't at all this year. Last year, he was a lot better scorer than he is this year. The thing that scares me is I heard earlier today that supposedly Boogie Flan's back. Supposedly Boogie Flan's going to be playing for this Arkansas team.
I did hear that as well.
I don't know how 100% true that is. I don't know if maybe Arkansas is just blowing smoke. If they get him back and healthy and Arkansas is completely healthy, this is a team that beat Michigan earlier in the year, beat Baylor early in the year. That's two really good wins against tournament teams, and you're going to give me them against Kansas, who hasn't been great all year. Finished outside of the top 5 in the Big 12 again in back-to-back consecutive years. Has over 10 losses back-to-back consecutive years, like the first time ever under Bill Self. This isn't a great Kansas team by any stretch of the imagination. But if you're going to give me a team like Arkansas who can get out and run, they have really good young guys in Billy Richmond, and you're going to give me Boogie Flam back. You got Adu Thiero. I think this is a matchup nightmare for Kansas if you're going to give me them completely healthy. I really do.
Well, the other thing I think that you have to mention for Kansas is the inability for Hunter Dickinson to play defense. And
Yeah.
you have a center, a stretch 5 for Arkansas, and Big Z, who will clip the crap out of it from 3. He will shoot the crap out of the ball from 3, especially as of late. So you're crazy if you think that Calipari isn't going to come out and say, we're going to run pick and pops.
Oh, yeah, all day.
And Hunter Dickinson, if you want to try to stand in the paint and defend, even though he really doesn't defend when he's in there anyways.
No, not at all. He's like, he just stands there like a telephone pole. He's stiffer than a board.
But I just think that could be difficult for either of those teams. I will say this: whoever gets out of that game, whoever plays St. John's in the second round, is going to be swarmed by defense. They're going to get trapped. They're going to get pressured. They're going to get sped up. They're going to turn the ball over. This St. John's team, I've been waiting so long to talk about this St. John's team. This St. John's team is so entertaining to watch for me. And I understand maybe there's some basketball fans out there that prefer the Alabama style of basketball. And don't get me wrong, Nate Oates has the guys playing an entertaining style of basketball. I'm going to be up in Cleveland.
It doesn't always work.
Yep, I'm going to be up in Cleveland next week. I'm going to get to see them play. It's entertaining to say the least. But this St. John's team, the way that they play defense makes it so hard to do anything on offense. And I know I talked about it with Houston. Is look at what they do to teams when every possession matters. When it's when it's less than 2 minutes left in the game in a 5-point game, and what defense do you play? Go watch St. John's play against Marquette the first time they played them in the regular season, and Marquette's down by 7 with 2 minutes left. And what does St. John's do? Shot clock violation. Marquette's trying to score quickly. That's their number one job, is score quickly. And you force a shot clock violation because they can't get anything. And that's how the St. John's team plays all game. And they've consistently battled adversity, right? They'll consistently go down. You look at the UConn game, they're down 26 to 11. They come back and win that game.
Getting throttled.
At UConn too, mind you, right? And then you go play Marquette in the championship. Cam Jones is lights out. It's 21-9 to start the game. You end up winning the game by 15. So also, not to mention, the first and second round games are being played in their literal backyard in Providence. So
I tell you what, I was just about to say that. It's in their backyard. The game is not tipping off till 9:45. We did finally get tip times.
Oh, we did.
If you got nothing going on Thursday night, watch the first half. If you haven't watched any of St. John's, watch the first half and see what they do to this Omaha team. See how they swarm the ball. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous what they're able to do. I will say this, our first game of the tournament, the legitimate first game of the tournament, not the first 4, is going to be that classic 8-9 matchup like it always is. But this time it is going to be Louisville versus Creighton.
Love it.
First game of March. Isn't that a fantastic first game to start off with?
Come on.
I mean, last year we had Michigan State beating the crap out of Mississippi State.
Oh,
this year we're getting Louisville versus Creighton, 12:15 Thursday. It is going to be fantastic. I mean, it is a perfect game to have it. But yeah, no, I mean, that's another thing to really look into with some of these games is like, what are they tipping off? Like, really, when are you going to get a tip? I mean, so yeah, I mean, that's a big thing. And then you look at the game with it, Arkansas and Kansas, they're 7-10 game. That's prime on Thursday. That's prime time. You get off of work, you just get done eating dinner. You get to watch Arkansas and Kansas. So, I mean, this is a really interesting pod, but I think you would agree with me here that it's really going to be St. John's and Texas Tech playing in that Sweet 16.
Yeah, and I think I would even go as far to say I think St. John's, whoever they play in the Elite Eight. Well, I know I mentioned I think Maryland is a legitimate sleeper team to make the Elite Eight because of their ability to play a single game at an extremely high level. Yeah. And I think that the way that this works out is you get a 5 seed that's not a 5 seed because of the Tyrese Hunter injury. And realistically, maybe should not have been a 5 seed to begin with, right?
I 100% agree with that.
I would have a hard time saying that this Memphis team is better than even like Louisville, who's
I'd say they're more of a 7 or an 8.
Yeah, so I think you luck out there, but you beat Grand Canyon in the first game. If you can do that comfortably and then beat whoever you need to in the second round, the Sweet 16 matchup against Florida
That's
is a winnable game because because you have 4 or 5 days rest. So
yeah,
but you don't have 4 or 5 days rest between the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8. Whoever is playing St. John's here in the Elite 8, I think St. John's, their defense makes it so hard to do anything at all. I think this is a game where if you're playing against a team like Florida, where you have 3 guards that can really shoot the crap out of the ball, you can't shoot the crap out of the ball against St. John's. You just can't.
Yeah.
There's nobody has, right? Cam Jones did it for what? 5 minutes?
Yeah, 5 to 7 minutes, and then after that, it was gone. I mean, like we said, you look at it with, every team that they've played, that you don't have guys that just go insane against them.
No,
or at least they don't go insane the whole game.
Right.
They'll have their stretch where they get theirs, but it's not like you look back at any of the games they played this year, like, wow, they really let one guy beat them because he shot the lights out of the ball. Like, no, it doesn't happen with this team. And I think you watch it in any game, like you bring up early in the year, they are so good at helping the helper. It is not even funny. On defense, and if you don't know what helping the helper is, it is basically if you're running a pick and roll, let's say, they're not afraid to get out because they're so athletic and hedge screens. Zuby Edgefor will come out, he'll hedge the screen. And guess what? The other guy's got to come over and they just replace. It's fantastic. I've never seen anything like it. They are so good at what they do on defense, on the defense end. And they interviewed Pitino earlier today before the bracket reveal. And he was like, yeah, I mean, every stop I've been, my first year hasn't been fantastic by any stretch of the imagination. He's like, but what I'm trying to do in that first year is not all about winning basketball games. He's like, I'm trying to build a culture. And I think that he's done it. I think he's done it. It only took him the 1 year, and he's done it. He got his guys. He's built the culture of we are going to play fantastic defense. We're going to swarm you. And guess what? We're going to be able to fill it up a little bit, too, on the offensive end. We're going to be able to get out and run, and we're going to show you what St. John's basketball is. And I really would say that any team that has passed up on trying to hire Rick Pitino before last year is definitely kicking themselves because, wow, did they mess up. And I think the next person with that is, we already talked about McNeese, but I think that's Will Wade. People need to quit thinking about all the crap that happened in the past. He's got his head on straight. Look what he's done with McNeese in 2 years. Tournament both years. And I think they've only lost not even over 5 conference games, if that. I don't think it's that. He is going to be the next one up to get that job. And I think it reverts perfectly back to what St. John's finally did. They pulled the trigger. They got their guy in Rick Pitino, and they didn't care about what happened in the past.
Yep.
And I think that is where it's really going to differentiate because you look at it, there was no reason for Rick Pitino to be at Iona for that long.
No.
There was no reason for him to be at Iona for that long. He's a D1, high-level D1 Power 5 basketball coach. He's got his culture in there. And, I think they're another team that has a legitimate shot of, its Final Four, even possible national championship.
Well, I think the other thing about Will Wade is the couple Big Ten job openings this year. You have Illinois.
Yeah, you have
Iowa. You have
5 or 6. I think it's 5 or 6. 5 or 6 Power 5 jobs are already open.
Yeah. So
one of those teams needs to hop on and get him.
Yes. No,
don't make the wrong hire with a mid-major like many programs have done.
Yes.
Go get your guy. He established himself at the high Power 5 level. Just go get him. Why not? Just do it.
Yep. So let's quickly, we'll begin to wrap this up. We've been live for an hour and 15 minutes now, Nick. We'll begin to wrap this up here with is this the South region then? No, this is the East.
East. Yeah.
So we have Duke here. Duke's going to take care of whatever they need to do in the first round. Cooper Flagg's going to be healthy. He's probably not going to play very much, though, in that first round. He's going to play as little as he has to.
I wouldn't play him at all.
Yeah. I
really wouldn't.
He'll dress. He'll start.
Yeah.
The second that you're up by double digits, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes out and he doesn't come back in until it's less than double digits.
We look at it. They're another 1 seed like Auburn, who is going to be playing a team that played a game 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, like these two teams are so good that I'm not worried that they're going to fall into a spot like Purdue,
Right.
or Virginia, because those teams weren't nearly as good as these 2 1 seeds are.
Right.
But I agree with you. I think maybe you start them. You see how practice goes. The first couple of days leading up to the actual game. We'll see when they have live open practice if he's actually going to be going through the drills or not. But I wouldn't rush it. There's no reason to. It's not like Cooper Flagg's just going to magically lose his rhythm because he doesn't play the first round game of March.
No.
I
No.
mean, there's a reason he's the number 1 overall pick, and in this coming draft, if he wants it, it's because he can consistently do and play a great level of basketball, and I'm not worried about it one bit at all. But yeah, maybe 5 to 10 minutes in that first game, if that. I wouldn't really try to push it because you obviously said, like you said, you don't need him.
Well, the
But
other
it's gonna
thing,
be interesting with that next round, though.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with that, but I think Mississippi State. I don't know about you, but I think Mississippi State wins that game against Baylor. I really do.
I would lean Mississippi State as well. I just think Baylor's just inconsistent enough that I haven't seen.
Injuries have killed them too. That's another team. They lost their
Yes.
starting center for the year.
Yeah.
Jeremy Roach, obviously we've seen throughout the year, has been in and out
Yeah.
with concussions, ankle injuries. I want to say he broke his, I want to say his finger or something. Like, he's had injuries, but I agree with you. I think it's Mississippi State, and I think that leads to an interesting game. But like we talked about, all you gotta do is guard Josh Hubbard, and this team really doesn't have much else within any of it. So
no. Well, and one other thing about Cooper Flagg and Duke is ankles are probably one of, if you're gonna give somebody a week, an ankle is probably the best thing to hurt, because there's a very, very easy way to rehab an ankle, and you can band the crap out of it. You can do all of these different things, and you can get an ankle like unswollen. You can get it to, like, the swelling to go down within hours of it. So, I mean, I think it's much better than like a knee or like a muscle. Like, if you were to have a hamstring or a groin, you can't rush a hamstring or a groin. You just got to hope that it heals in a week.
Whereas, AKA Iowa State.
Yes. Whereas with an ankle, like, I mean, my old high school basketball coach would band people's ankles, and he was spectacular at it. And you would have an ankle come in like this big, purple and black, and within 3 or 4 days, they're running and cutting on it. So if my high school had that, I'm sure Duke has it. But with the Mississippi State, I mean, the Sion James versus Josh Hubbard is going to be just a clamp fest. I don't see Josh Hubbard shooting. He already shoots like 37%, I think, on the year from the field. Yeah. I see him going like a good 3 for 14, maybe a 5 for 21, something like that. You know he's going to get his shots up, but I just don't think he's good enough of a shooter. And he's playing he's plenty good of a shooter. He's playing such a difficult matchup in Sion James.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to single-handedly, beat Duke unless he puts up like 40 points, which I still don't think Duke's too long and lengthy to even allow that to happen.
Yeah. Now, I will say Oregon Liberty, Arizona.
Actually, this is probably the one matchup I don't know anything about. Yeah. Obviously, I know Oregon. I've watched Oregon. We watched them against Michigan State. I don't know anything about this Liberty team. I didn't even know they were in the Conference USA now. I did not know. I don't know anything about this Liberty team. So yeah, I really don't. It blows my mind with this matchup. I really don't know much about this one at all.
Yeah, this Liberty team is interesting. They have 4 guys averaging double figures, right? And if you go to the 8+ points per game, they have 7 guys averaging 8+ points per game. So it's quality minutes. You look at those 7 guys that I just mentioned, you have 5 of them that shoot it at 30% or higher from 3. So you have the ability to absolutely clip from 3. You also have 2 of them that shoot it at 44% or higher in there.
Yeah.
So you have the ability to light it up from 3. That's where I think this Liberty team is capable, plenty capable. Yeah. I just don't necessarily know how. I don't know if they have the defensive firepower to be able to defend Oregon, right? Oregon's got some good. I mean, they have some very, very, very quality offensive players. I mean, Shellstat has really come into a shell and has played, no pun intended, and played great basketball.
Yeah.
And then you also have Nate Little, who's played very, very good basketball too. I mean, all defensive first team in the Big Ten, great interior presence there, and also can step out and shoot the three. So I think Oregon team is good. This Oregon team is good, but this Liberty team can just light it up from three on a given night. So this is,
their only loss, I'm looking at their non-conference right now, their only loss was in an OT thriller. They lost by 3 to Florida Atlantic. But other than that, they hold wins against, they went in and played Charleston, beat them by 21. They beat Louisiana by 20. They beat Kansas State by 2. They beat McNeese by 4.
Yeah.
They got some good wins. But no, I don't know enough about them to know if this is going to be a team that can actually, hang with and beat Oregon down the stretch.
Yeah, I think kind of just to group 3 games together here: Oregon, Liberty, Arizona, Akron, BYU, VCU.
Yeah.
Especially the BYU, VCU, Oregon, Liberty. BYU and Liberty are very 3-point dependent, I would say.
Yes.
And when you have a team that's that 3-point dependent, we saw it with BYU last year, right?
Yep.
And you lose first round last year.
Get another A-10 team. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah. So I don't know if I'm necessarily convinced on either of these teams to go. I'm not.
I don't think I'm
sold.
I don't think I'm sold on. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I don't think they're consistent enough. I mean, you look at it with like BYU, what they did against Iowa State, just insane.
You'll beat anybody.
Yeah, and then you look what happens the next round. They play Houston.
Mm-hmm.
They get rocked. But I don't know. I don't think I believe in this VCU team. I really don't. They struggled today against George Mason. And don't get me wrong, George Mason finished second in the conference. They're not a bad team by any stretch of the imagination, but they didn't look insanely great today.
No.
Obviously at Max Shulga, they were able to bring him back when he decided he was going to leave and go to Nova. I mean, but no, I just really don't see it. I don't see it. Their leading rebounder only averages 7 rebounds a game. Jack Clark, he's a 6'10", 215-pound senior. I mean, that's not necessarily what you want when you're going to be going against Keba Keita, who's 6'8", but he's 230 pounds. He outweighs you by 20 pounds.
And he does not. He's got to have at least a 7-foot wingspan, and is
he averages 8 rebounds a game.
Yeah, he gets up quick. Like the time it takes for him to elevate and catch a lob, it is rapid.
Insane.
It is actually insane. But I think with this BYU team, what I learned from the Big 12 tournament is when you play a team that is much, much better than you.
Yeah.
We've been at this for an hour and 22 minutes. Let's give me a break. But when you play a team that's much, much better than you, it's very, very difficult to rely on a 3-point shot as much as they do.
Yes.
And obviously, when you play a team like Utah and you can't hit it in the first half, it's like, okay, but at some point you're going to hit them. Yeah, you hit them in the second half, you're fine. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happens against VCU, right? If you don't come out and shoot well in the first half, okay, you figure some things out, you shoot well in the second half, or they're just not good enough that you can manage that. But when you play a team like Wisconsin in the second round, Wisconsin's going to defend the 3-point line well.
Yeah.
And Wisconsin's also going to get you in foul trouble. John Tonje is so good at getting to the line. It was painful to watch as a Michigan State fan.
We talked about it. Against
catapults himself into the lane, and there's a foul called.
He gets the call every time.
Yeah, and then he goes and plays Michigan and goes 1 for 14 from the Fleet Field. So that was a little bit frustrating to watch. But nevertheless, I think this Wisconsin team gets into the Elite Eight or the Sweet 16 pretty comfortably. And I think Wisconsin against Bama,
that's going to be an interesting matchup.
It's going to be a really interesting matchup. I mean, Bama is going to get to play the winner of St. Mary's Vanderbilt toss up.
Which I mean, I think I'm going to lean St. Mary's just because obviously you have a brutal loss in the championship game against the Zags, but they've been fantastic all year. They're a veteran group. I mean, and they got one of the best freshmen in the nation. He was 6th man of the year. Sorry, I'm blanking on his name. But yeah, I think he was a 6th man of the year in the conference. But no, this is a team that I think has a sour taste in their mouth because they obviously finished 17-1 in the WCC, 28-5 overall. But you have a game against Gonzaga where you only hold them to 58 and you still lose. But no, it's my bad. It's Mikey Lewis is his name.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mikey Lewis has been a stud. He's a freshman, 6'3" guard. Can he play the way that he's played throughout the year? If he can do that, I don't see a problem with this Vandy team because, like we've said all year, Vandy's got some great wins at home.
Mhm.
They really do. But guess where they're not playing?
At home.
They're not playing at home in Nashville. They're not. And I think that's going to be a real problem for them because, obviously they're playing in Cleveland, Ohio, so they got a lot easier of a trek than St. Mary's does.
Yeah.
But you obviously get there a few days early, and they'll be there by either tomorrow or Tuesday, and they'll get used to the time switch. But I just don't see it with this Vandy team, and I haven't all year. I really haven't. They're 20-12. They don't win on the road. They only win at home. They get great wins at home. They finished 8-10 in conference. Whatever. You got good enough home wins because you beat ranked teams at home to get you in the tournament.
Yeah.
To not talk about the bubble anymore, but I don't even think this Vandy team is much better than what West Virginia would have been if they would have made the tournament. But yeah, like we talked about it a lot earlier throughout the year. They just win at home. That's really all they do. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter because I think Bama beats either of them, like you said. But I think I would lean St. Mary's just because of that sole fact that Vandy sucks on the road.
Now, I will say this. Wisconsin-Bama matchup in the Sweet 16. If Wisconsin comes out of this matchup and you get John Tonje versus Cooper Flagg, if Cooper Flagg guards John Tonje, like if I'm John Shire, I do everything I can. Cooper Flagg will not be guarding John Tonje. I don't care unless it's second half and Cooper Flagg has less than 2 fouls because John Tonje is so good at getting to the line. If you take Cooper Flagg out of the game, it is very, very difficult to
much different team. I tell you what, for bringing that matchup up, I don't know how long Malik Brown's going to be out. I mean, obviously he was in a sling. I don't know if he's going to play it all the rest of this year. If he's ever going to play, like obviously, I want to say he's a grad student, so I don't know if his time at Duke's done.
Yeah.
But if he comes back and can play in that game, and he gets to guard Tonje, Wisconsin's going to be in some serious trouble.
Yeah.
Wisconsin will be in some serious trouble. Because he's 6'9", the guy leads the league in tipped passes and steals. When Duke has him on the floor, being able to be their main defender, their number one defender, they are such a different team. And I think we've seen that. And I think we've seen that over, the past couple games that they've played. I mean, obviously they struggle with Georgia Tech because he gets hurt, flags out, and they let Georgia Tech shoot from deep. Like it was probably one of the better shooting performances Georgia Tech's had all year. And then you go and you see what they do against Carolina. They struggle, but I mean, if they have Malik Brown on the floor, Cooper Flagg on the floor, they probably win that game by 30. I mean, without him, they were up 20. If you're going to add back your best scorer, your most athletic guy, and then your best defensive player, I don't see Wisconsin being able. I don't see Wisconsin or Bama being able to even remotely hang with that.
Yeah. Now, I will say this about Bama is if Bama gets out, the thing that Bama has that I think can really, really give Duke some fits is they play at an unreal pace. That if you're going to make Cooper Flagg, who's going to play 40 minutes, maybe 38 minutes, maybe you give him a minute rest in each half, right before a TV timeout. If you're going to make him play 38 minutes of a track meet, at the end of the game, it's going to be difficult for Cooper Flagg to operate. We've seen that several times. Look at the Clemson game. He's cramping up on the sidelines, right? Look at the Kentucky game. Same thing's happening. The Clemson game, I thought he played spectacular down the stretch.
Yes.
But then, slips at the end. Obviously, that's unfortunate. But there were a lot of different things that have happened this year that have made me think that if there was an opportunity for Alabama to play a game in the Elite Eight, 2 days after you've played a game, right? And Cooper Flagg has to play 38 minutes of a track meet style basketball against Alabama, it's going to be difficult. So I think that this Bama team, in all honesty, if I'm going to pick my Final Four right now, it's going to be Bama, it's going to be Houston, it's going to be St. John's, and it's going to be Michigan State. I'm going to have 3 2 seeds and 1 seed in there. I know it's not fun because there's no 6 seed in there. I do think that if I'm going to get a 6 seed, 6, 7 seed, it's hard for me to – I think it's got to be Illinois if I'm going to pick a 6 seed because I think that they can – I very comfortably see them in the Sweet 16. Yeah. And then it's at the point where Can you string together a game? Can you string together 2 games? And then you're in there. So I know you have to beat Houston, and seems like an impossible task. But when you get to the Elite Eight, anybody can beat anybody on a given night. So
I think to bring back the point with Bama real quick.
yeah.
Obviously Grant Nelson got hurt. He injured his knee. They don't know the extent of the injury. I'm pretty sure that he had to go get an MRI today or something like that to really see how bad of an injury it's going to be. But obviously, like we talked about, they're going to beat the crap out of Robert Morris. You don't need him in that game. It doesn't matter.
No.
You probably don't need him in the game against St. Mary's or Vandy. But if the injury's not that bad, can he be back for the Wisconsin game?
Mm-hmm.
I think if he's back for the Wisconsin game, I agree with you. I think they are Final Four good. I think they actually go to the Final Four if they have him. He is such a pivotal part of what Alabama does. Without him on the floor, Alabama is a completely different team because guess what? If you take him off, now you only have Clifford, Amore, and he doesn't score.
No,
but when
dunks.
You have, he dunks and that's it. But when you have Grant Nelson in the starting lineup, you have a guy who's 6'11", 230, but he is so athletic to where he scores. I mean, he averages 12, 8, and 2 on 53% shooting.
And he's started to, as of the last, I don't know what he's shooting on the season from 3-point range, but in the last 10 games or so, he's really picked it up and has been shooting much more confidently from 3. So
he's 27.5%, but like you said, he's been shooting a lot better than that number.
Yes, yeah. So
and he's a 6'11" guy, and he's starting to clip it. And no, I agree with you. If you can get him back healthy, it's not a season-ending injury. I think that they are a legitimate Final Four team.
Yeah. No, I mean I agree with you. So real quick, my final point, and then I'm done, is one other guy who has been shooting the 3-point ball much better as of late is RJ Lewis out of St. John's. And I don't think he's getting enough attention. That's why I want to talk about it real quick. RJ Lewis is an elite mid-range shooter. I mean, as elite gets.
I'll give St. John's credit. Him and Kadari Richmond are insane mid-range shooters. It's crazy.
But when I look at his 3-point shot throughout the season, right? I mean, I'm looking early in the season. Kansas State 1 for 5, Bryant 1 for 4, 0 for 0, 0 for 4, 0 for 2. Yep. I mean, he went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games without hitting a 3. His last 6 games, he's hit 3, 0 against Marquette. He was 0 for 3. But 3, 0, 2, 3, 2, 3, 3. And at percentages of 50, 50, 50, 43, 67, 0, and 100. So he is shooting the ball at like a 50% clip from 3 in the last 10 games, and he's shooting it confidently. And that is so dangerous for teams. And that when you need to, I mean, Simeon Wilcher can shoot the 3, and I think that that's very, very crucial for this for the St. John's team to have somebody that can do it, because all season they kind of struggled with that, right? Yeah. But when you look at RJ Lewis being able to do that as well, like, that's just so dangerous. And I think the St. John's team, if you can't tell, I do think that the St. John's team will be playing in the Elite Eight, definitely, and probably the Final Four. But
I think I have almost the same Final Four as you. This is obviously first glance. It most likely will not stay this way. But I have the Final Four of Michigan State. I'm going with Texas Tech. I think when they're healthy, they're probably one of the best teams in college basketball. They just need to get more consistent on the shooting end. They will go through stretches like they did in the Big 12 tournament where they just went ice cold. I mean, it happened in their game against Baylor. They got lucky to win that game because they went ice cold. And they were still able to, bring out a win. But I'd go Michigan State, Tech, Houston, and then I'm going to go with you. Depending on the Grant Nelson news, I'm going to go with Bama for the meantime. And if Grant Nelson obviously can't return, that's Duke's region to run. They'll probably play Wisconsin to go for the right to go to the Final Four, but I just don't think Wisconsin has enough to hang with this Duke or Bama squad. But I almost the same Final Four, except I'm going to replace St. John's with Tech, just because I love what Tech's doing right now. Grant McCaslin's a great coach, and they got the player of the year in the Big 12 and JT Toppin. But
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
it's here. We
it
finally
is.
got here. It's here.
It
It
is
feels
here.
like, I swear, it feels like not even last week we were filming our first episode in
With the
November.
Maui.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in November,
Yeah.
talking about Maui and all the other great Thanksgiving week tournaments. But we made it, and I tell you what, you better clear your schedule Thursday and Friday. And if you have
Okay.
if you have to sadly go to the office, you better have some type of tablet or something on your phone to watch some games, because you are missing out on the best, and I will say it, the best, and whether it's collegiate or pro, the best tournament in all of the world. I will hang my hat on that. The
I've
best
always
tournament.
I've always said if you gave me 2 days of vacation off work for the entire year,
Yep.
I'd take it Thursday, Friday of March Madness.
Yep.
Because I am on vacation, but on Friday I'm going to be in Cleveland, so I'll get to see. I'm going to see Michigan State play. That's why I was very eager when you mentioned earlier, because I wanted to see what time they played. They play the 10 p.m. game, so we're the last game.
Oh my God, I didn't
Yeah,
even realize
we're the
that.
last game, dude. I'm going to
Why would
be.
they have? That's crazy. Why would
Yeah,
they have East Coast, Marquette, New Mexico, 7:30? Then you guys are at 10 o'clock. That is, oh, jeez.
I don't know, but hey,
Well,
you know,
it's a Friday night though, so you'll take it. It's not
yeah,
like
I'm,
like it's Thursday night at 10 p.m.
no, but yeah, and then we're going to my dad and I are staying, and we're going to the games on Sunday as well. So
Hell yeah.
Unless Michigan State gets upset by Bryant, we're not going to the games on Sunday. I can
Are
promise
you guys
that.
gonna go to? Are you gonna follow them to the Sweet 16?
I see. I might, because so
Are you
I'm
gonna
going here.
follow them all the way if they get there? Are you gonna go each stop, or
I don't know.
let's say they obviously you're going to round 1 and 2. They get that. Are you gonna go Sweet 16? Or you be like, all right, we'll see. Maybe not Sweet 16.
Well, I
They
don't
win
know.
Elite 8, maybe
I
Final
might.
Four.
Well, see, I might, because I'm in Chattanooga now, right?
Yeah.
And so like I'm flying back home to Ohio to go to Cleveland with my
Yeah.
dad, but the South Regional for the Sweet 16 Elite 8 is in Atlanta, which
Well,
is
there you
I'm an
go.
hour and a half from it. It's like,
There you go.
so I genuinely might. I mean, I haven't looked at what tickets are. If tickets are like $1,000 for the 2 games, maybe not.
Yeah.
But it's I wouldn't be surprised. Don't be surprised if you see me at first, second, and third round. Hopefully, then the Elite 8. But if it gets to that, I would buy individual Sweet 16 and individual Elite 8 tickets to not.
Would you go to the Final Four?
Where's the Final Four at this year?
San Antonio, I believe.
Oh no, I'm not going.
No.
As much as I would love to, tickets would be so expensive. I'd be sitting in a seat where I wouldn't get a good view of the game, which I wouldn't want that.
Yeah, you'd just be staring at the massive.
$1,500.
Yeah, you'd be staring at the massive jumbotron that they hang down
Yeah.
from the ceiling of the Alamo Dome.
Yeah,
It wouldn't even be worth it. It'd be like you're watching it on a projector.
right. Yeah, I'd rather just watch it at home and not spend $2,000 on the trip. But
Yep.
Yeah, no. All right. Well, this has been good. This is the live stream here, obviously, talking about the kind of first initial glances. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll have 5 to 10 teams to watch out for.
Yep.
5 to 10 players to watch out for come March Madness. Tuesday will be the official Sports Geeks bracket being released Tuesday night to give anybody, if you want to copy the bracket and send it into your family group chat, and then you can win some money there. We're happy to help you there.
Let's do it.
Other than that, though, guys, this has been the Sports Geeks live stream. Thanks for tuning in. Anybody